Hello and welcome back to Not Broke After 60. Today, we are undertaking a comprehensive institutional-grade forensic autopsy of post-retirement human psychology, macroeconomic risk and wealth preservation, examining the hard-earned, mathematically punishing realizations of individuals who have crossed the 60-year milestone. When fiduciary wealth managers, behavioral economists and longevity researchers interview retirees about their financial trajectory, over decades of economic cycles, a remarkably consistent, sobering dataset emerges. These are not minor accounting errors, trivial overspending mistakes, or temporary budgeting hiccups. These are structural, macro-level strategic missteps that cost ordinary households hundreds of thousands of dollars, forfeit decades of compounding interest, and induce profound psychological stress during life stages that were meant to be defined by absolute security and peace of mind. Today, we are moving far past generic, surface-level budgeting tips to deeply dissect the 10 biggest financial regrets people face after turning 60, analysed through an elite expert lens of risk management, behavioural finance, and strategic longevity planning. Let's break them down one by one with absolute analytical rigour. 1. The compounding opportunity cost, not investing earlier. By far the most prevalent and mathematically punishing regret reported by older adults is failing to capitalise on the time value of money during their 20s and 30s. When individuals are in their peak career-building decades, retirement feels abstract, distant, and disconnected from reality, while the mechanics of exponential growth are routinely underestimated. The structural failure involves delaying serious capital accumulation until one's 40s, which forces an exponential increase in required monthly savings rates to ever reach financial parity with early starters. The expert takeaway highlights that time in the market is an asymmetric, irreplaceable advantage. Starting just a decade earlier cuts required capital contributions dramatically, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that compounding interest is either your most powerful wealth-building engine or your most expensive, unrecoverable missed opportunity. 2. Actuarial myopia. Claiming Social Security. Too soon, millions of Americans pull the trigger on Social Security benefits the exact nanosecond they become eligible at age 62, driven almost entirely by immediate cash flow bias and the psychological temptation of government checks. The structural failure involves taking benefits at 62 instead of waiting patiently until full retirement age, or maximizing the actuarial curve all the way to age 70. Which locks in a permanently penalised, inflation-vulnerable monthly payout for life while permanently depressing survivor benefit thresholds for spouses. The expert takeaway establishes that Social Security is the single greatest government-backed inflation-indexed annuity available to the general public. Treating it as an early bonus rather than maximising its lifetime actuarial value is a severe structural miscalculation that haunts households in their 70s and 80s. 3. The balance sheet anchor. Carrying credit card debt into retirement. Entering your 60s with lingering revolving consumer debt, personal loans, high interest balances, or auto financing is the financial equivalent of entering a marathon carrying heavy weights. Individuals often finance lifestyle inflation during their working years under the complacent assumption that future earnings velocity will continuously bail them out. When fixed retirement income abruptly replaces earned income, servicing double-digit interest rates consumes monthly cash flow with devastating, suffocating velocity. The expert takeaway mandates that consumer debt must be eradicated entirely prior to the retirement transition phase, as servicing high-cost debt on a fixed income destroys baseline purchasing power faster than almost any other macroeconomic variable. 4. Asymmetric generosity, helping adult children. Too much generosity is a core human value and an expression of love, but unbudgeted, unstructured financial rescue missions for adult children can rapidly destabilize a senior's balance sheet. Countless retirees compromise their own financial security by draining liquid portfolios, tapping home equity lines, or co-signing high-risk debt to bail out grown children struggling with mortgages, vehicle notes, or daily living expenses. The expert takeaway is stark and uncompromising. You can finance a mortgage, a car, or an education through institutional debt markets, but no bank or government agency will ever issue a loan to fund your retirement survival. Funding adult children at the direct expense of your own foundational solvency is a systemic risk that ultimately creates multi-generational failure. 5. Intestate vulnerability, waiting too long to make a will. Procrastination in legal architecture and estate planning is a silent, ruthless destroyer of generational capital. Operating under the dangerous assumption that estate planning is an administrative chore reserved exclusively for the ultra-wealthy, individuals delay executing legally binding wills, financial powers of attorney, and revocable trusts. The expert takeaway warns that when an individual passes intestate, state probate courts dictate asset distribution, triggering adversarial legal battles, substantial administrative fees, and unnecessary tax friction that erodes the family legacy before it ever reaches the next generation. 6. The actuarial blind spot, underestimating healthcare and long-term care costs. As individuals navigate their 60s, 70s, and 80s, medical expenditures deviate sharply upward from baseline living costs. Many retirees operate under the perilous misconception that Medicare acts as an all-inclusive safety net, failing to account for out-of-pocket prescription tiers, specialist deductibles, and the immense, staggering cost of assisted living or memory care facilities. The expert takeaway dictates that long-term care planning and dedicated health savings reserves must be treated as mandatory fixed liabilities, rather than optional contingencies in any comprehensive retirement model. 7. The illiquid fortress, buying too much house. The emotional attachment to the multi-bedroom family home long after children have departed frequently morphs into a suffocating cash flow anchor. Holding oversized real estate exposes retirees to escalating property taxes, steep homeowner insurance premiums, structural maintenance, and utility bills scaling with square footage rather than actual utility. The expert takeaway warns that remaining house-rich and cash-poor locks up critical capital in an illiquid asset that generates zero income while continuously bleeding monthly liquidity. 8. The single pipeline hazard, failing to diversify income streams. Relying exclusively on a single post-career income channel, such as baseline social security or a single pension, is a severe defensive vulnerability. Failing to construct diversified revenue channels through dividend equities, rental real estate, structured annuities, or professional consulting leaves, households entirely defenseless against macro shocks, inflation spikes, and legislative shifts. The expert takeaway establishes that true financial resilience requires multiple uncorrelated income streams to ensure operational flexibility during economic downturns. 9. The tax time bomb, ignoring retirement tax engineering. Focusing exclusively on pre-tax accumulation vehicles without modeling the distribution phase creates severe avoidable tax inefficiencies. Traditional 401k and IRA withdrawals are taxed as ordinary income, and mandatory government distributions can violently push retirees into higher tax brackets, triggering stealth taxes like Medicare premium surcharges. The expert takeaway is that proactive tax optimization, such as executing strategic Roth conversions during early retirement low-income windows, is essential to preserve net purchasing power. 10. Behavioral asymmetry, not talking openly about money with a partner. Financial misalignment between spouses or long-term partners remains one of the most potent internal risks to household stability. Avoiding transparent conversations regarding spending habits, risk tolerance, and legacy goals results in operational chaos when cognitive decline or unexpected loss of life occurs. The expert takeaway emphasizes that financial governance is a shared fiduciary responsibility within a partnership, and transparent communication must be institutionalized long before retirement arrives. The decumulation paradox, the hidden psychological toll. Beyond these 10 structural regrets, recent behavioral economics data highlights a paradoxical psychological barrier that strikes retirees right as they cross the threshold. The decumulation freeze. For 40 years, individuals are conditioned to do one thing relentlessly: accumulate. They watch account balances grow, celebrate milestones, and treat capital preservation as the ultimate virtue. But the moment retirement arrives, the script flips completely. They must now transition from a wealth accumulation mindset to a wealth decumulation mindset, and the human brain violently resists this change. According to recent longitudinal studies from major retirement research centres, nearly 70% of working adults and a staggering number of recent retirees experience severe anxiety around actually drawing down their portfolios. They view every dollar spent not as purchasing the freedom they earned, but as a direct threat to their survival. This leads to two extreme behavioural failures. First, underspending out of paralysing fear, living an unnaturally austere lifestyle during your healthiest, most active years, out of a generalised terror of running out of money. And second, panic-driven portfolio restructuring, making drastic, emotionally charged adjustments to asset allocations during short-term market turbulence, locking in permanent losses right when a steady, long-term decumulation strategy is needed most. Overcoming this requires shifting your perspective from viewing your retirement portfolio as a static scoreboard to treating it as a dynamic, purpose-built engine designed to fund your life's final chapter. A written, rules-based accumulation strategy removes emotional guesswork, establishing safe withdrawal rates, tax-efficient bucket strategies, and clear guardrails so you can spend with absolute confidence. Constructing your post-60 blueprint, actionable fiduciary methodology. To ensure you never look back with regret, you must replace passive hope with active, rigorous structural engineering. Here is your non-negotiable blueprint for financial execution past age 60. Conduct a comprehensive balance sheet audit by separating your assets into 3 distinct tiers, consisting of immediate liquidity covering 1 to 3 years of cash needs, growth-oriented investments featuring equities for inflation protection, and guaranteed income streams including Social Security, pensions, or structured annuities. Optimize your tax bracket glide path by mapping out projected RMDs and taxable income decades in advance, using early retirement low-income years to systematically drain traditional accounts via Roth conversions, before mandatory government distributions force you into higher tax brackets. Institutionalize family boundaries by having explicit, documented conversations with adult children regarding financial independence, supporting them emotionally and strategically, while protecting your primary asset base like your life depends on it. And finally, future-proof your estate and healthcare structure by updating your wills, medical directives, and powers of attorney immediately while factoring long-term care contingencies into your baseline cash flow model, so an unexpected health event never forces a catastrophic fire sale of your assets. These 10 forensic regrets and psychological traps highlight a fundamental, unyielding truth. Financial security in your 60s is never an accident of fortune. It is the direct output of disciplined, multi-decade capital allocation and strategic foresight. Now we turn the floor over to you, our Not Broke After 60 community. Looking across the financial landscape, what is your biggest financial regret? Or what strategic adjustment do you consider non-negotiable in your own plan? Drop your insights and methodologies in the comments below. If you found value in this expert breakdown, hit that subscribe button right now, share this video with a peer who needs to hear it, and we will see you in the next one.